That was awesome.
That's an introduction.
I love it. That was so cool.
Yes.
Look, okay, so I just got this new system. I'm not doing it through Zoom this time. It's called StreamYard. And you know what? You know I'm a little silly, so we got to make it fun.
Yes, it was fun.
This is fun. Amber Whip with Prime Lending. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for asking me. This is exciting. I told Sarah my lighting is awful. Yours looks great. I don't know what this is.
That's okay.
I'm going to have to get more versed at this. So
that's okay. You know what? You're going to have so much fun doing this. You're going to want to do it again.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't matter. The content matters. People seeing who you are. And that's one of the things that I thought about. You know, Amber Whip, I always tell people, I like to work with good humans. And when I think of good humans, Amber is obviously one of the first people that pop into my head. And so I always have said that about you. And so that was one of the reasons why I wanted you on here, is because we work really hard to work with good people.
Yes.
You know, when we are referring you to our buyers or you in general, you want good people working with your people. And so that's so important. So I like to tell people Amber is a good human and really good at her job.
Thank you. And that's important to me, because that's kind of what I want for myself, is to be, you know, that's my goal, is to be a good human first, and then everything falls in line after that. So
if you follow Amber on Facebook, she puts that out there. Some of our agents, we've been really talking about, you know, the kind of person that we want people to perceive. We know who we are. Our friends know who we are. But what we project on our social media, is that always what is being perceived? And you do just, I mean, you just, you can.
Well, and I hope I'm that in real life and not just social media too.
No, that's what I mean. I'm bragging that you project who you are to your friends and your family, and anybody that gets on social media, they will immediately pick up on that. So
thank you.
Yes. So last week we all came together at the Lawton Board of Realtors.
Yes.
Lenders across the town, local lenders. I don't know if you probably heard me in April talking the
I did. Yes, I loved it. I watched the whole thing. You guys were getting a little feisty.
We get fired up, but again,
I loved it.
We feel our buyers' frustration, our sellers' frustration, and in turn that creates, you know, not happy people, and we want happy people.
Right.
And so anyway, I think William, my coach, he always says, you know, what are your pain points? What are your pain points? How do we fix those pain points?
Yes.
Not going local sometimes is a huge pain point. And so anyway, I want to introduce you. So anyway, so we came together last week at the Lawton Board of Realtors. You and some of our other local lenders.
Yes.
A lot of realtors in that room. That was so exciting to see.
Yes, it was amazing.
We're coming together. We're trying to adjust ourselves. We're trying to problem solve, get creative with our current market shift.
Yes. Yes.
Holy cow.
Yeah. There are things and terms and new products that honestly I've not had to use since I've been in this career. I mean, I used to tell people, oh no, I don't do ARMs. I mean, because it just wasn't necessary. It wasn't needed. And why go that route? But now there's all of these options out there that are actually really great options for buyers, and helps the sellers in return sometimes when we're talking about getting a house moving and buyers interested in buying, you know.
ARMs is not a dirty term or
right.
Word.
Yeah. Right.
It's not. In fact, I just purchased a home using an ARMS. I had no idea I was doing it. Actually, you would think that I would, but I'm taking care of my buyers and sellers. My husband's taking care of us. And so that works. And so anyway, I let him kind of take care of that. Plus he empathizes with me a little bit. But anyway, so that's what we did. And when I got to the closing table, I said, what did you do? I said, it's not scary at all.
Right.
So you explain kind of a little bit about what that means. What is an ARMS?
Yes. So an ARM is an adjustable rate mortgage. And to a lot of people, like you said, that's scary talk and scary terms. But I kind of broke it down at the Lawton Board of Realtors and showed numbers and numbers don't lie. We all know that. So it was showing, it was a 5/6 arm option, I think, that I showed. So that meant for the first 5 years, the rate would be set. And then after that, it could adjust every 6 months. So those are good options for people that don't plan on living in a home for a long period of time, or they're just planning on refinancing at some point, when the market does shift in that favor. So it is a good option. It can save them money, a lot of money over those first, initial period of the loan. And the teaser rate, as they call it, where it's the lower rate for the first 5 or 7 years or whatever type arm you do, is usually, in the option that I showed, it was like 1.5 points lower than what the market rate was, or what the normal rate would be for that loan product. So it really can be a great option. It's just talking with someone and letting them talk those options with you. It's not always the best option for everybody. So I'm going to look at that and say, hey, this might not be the best option for you, or hey, let me present them to you and let you pick. But that's about
arm. I love that, Amber, because, and I love that you are not just going to shove that on somebody. Hey, this is your option. You're
right.
Listening. You're understanding what their needs are. Everybody's
Absolutely.
different. And that's what I try to tell my buyers. Guys, we're different. Every single one of you have different needs.
Yes.
This is not a one size fits all anything.
Right.
Anything in this industry is not.
Yeah, we know every transaction is completely different.
Absolutely. Yeah. Somebody asked me the other day, what are the interest rates? Well, I can tell you what the average interest rate is, but I'm going to need you to go and call your lender. I need you to make this phone call, and I need you to understand how all this works, because everybody's a little different, and it's hard to get, it's kind of hard to get people to understand that sometimes, but that's why you're here. Yeah. And it's not scary. So let me ask you this. Can anybody qualify for an adjustable rate mortgage?
No. So, well, there are credit score requirements. There's debt to income requirements, and they are usually more strict than qualifying for a 30-year fixed or whatnot. So that is something I always tell people, the first step is, and this is usually the hardest hurdle, is let me pull your credit and see where your credit score is at. That will then let me figure your debt to income ratio, and then we can decide what loan programs are available to you. Just talking, like you were saying, your friend asking you, it's really hard. I can tell you what qualifications you have to meet certain loan programs, but until we look at it and jump and dive into it, it's really hard for me to present all the options to them.
Since COVID, do you find that there are more options? Is this something that is a COVID thing, more regulations, more options,
there were more. There were definitely more regulations during COVID and after COVID, especially for self-employed borrowers. There were stricter regulations, and really a lot of the borrowers, there were stricter regulations on assets and reserves that they needed to have and things like that. So thankfully, a lot of those have been lifted, per VA, FHA, Fannie Mae's guidelines, things like that. But there are still some out there lingering around. So
sure, absolutely. And that's kind of what I tell people, sometimes we had these options, then all of a sudden we didn't have these options. And then the next day, oh, wait, we have this option again. And,
absolutely.
And so that's why I say, guys, I don't know from day to day. And honestly, you guys probably don't know from day to day.
Yeah, I mean,
you're getting updates on the daily.
Yes, it gets frustrating, but it's so important that you're working with somebody that knows those options. And not saying that I know everything, because by all means, I need to be updated every single day. But we are getting emails constantly from our companies and from, down payment assistance options or whatever, letting us know what's available today, if it's here today, if it's gone tomorrow. Yeah. So we have to be very careful about what we're quoting to someone. And I know you and April were talking about this too, in getting them locked in as soon as possible, because it might be gone tomorrow. So,
and that's a lesson for realtors too, to be honest with you. You don't know if we're under contract, If I
Yes.
don't send that to you. And
Right.
so
Right.
we send,
Right.
I think that's everybody's responsibility, because you're communicating, I'm communicating, the buyer's communicating, we're all communicating together. But if we haven't talked in a minute,
Yeah.
and a week's gone by, a lot can change if I, as a realtor, do not get that contract to you.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so not only is that a buyer, a lender's, responsibility, but it's also my responsibility making sure that I get to you ASAP. Because
Yes. Yeah. It's very important so we can get it locked in. Here lately, because the rates have been so all over the place, anyone that I'm pre-qualifying, and I know, I work closely with the realtor, I know they're out looking for houses. I'm like texting them. I'm probably annoying them. Hey, did you go under contract? Did you go under? Because
Absolutely.
I don't want to miss an opportunity to lock in that rate and get them the best rate,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Huge, huge. We were talking about that yesterday. We felt like maybe there's a possibility that somebody's deal fell through because that was not locked in immediately. And it changes so fast.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're all having to get used to. I try to tell people, we're not scared. This isn't bad. This is almost kind of normal-ish. Our rates are normal. We're getting out of that craziness, but it's different. And so it's not scary. It's just kind of back to normal.
Right.
The only thing that I think that, now I've been in this for 5, almost 6 years. So the only difference that I think that I've seen is the buy down.
Yeah.
And and I think after talking to some of you guys too, that is kind of a newer thing as well.
Yeah.
I've talked to 2 for sale by owner people lately, and I said, they're like, what's going on? I don't understand. And I said, well, let me tell you, this isn't necessarily an excuse, but when you got to bring even more money to the table and you're already bringing your inspection money, your earnest money, your appraisal money,
right,
your down payment, your closing costs, and now, I got to throw 1 more % on top of that.
Yeah.
So they're not prepared. And so I'm trying to let people know, look, it's not scary. We just have to prepare for it. So go ahead and explain that.
No, and I feel like you educating them is so important, like the sellers, because they're not understanding how much the buyers are having to come out of pocket to purchase this house. And like you said, especially, our VA borrowers, thankfully, that's 100% financing, but they still have their closing costs. They're prepaying for inspections and all of that earnest money. And then on top of that, now most lenders, we're not able to quote a par rate. Some days we are, some days we aren't. So we're having to charge an additional origination fee to them just to lock in a rate. So they're having to come out of pocket. I mean, let's just estimate $8,000, on a VA loan, and that's a 0 down payment loan. So if we can educate the sellers and say, hey, we want to make this a win for you, but we also have to make it a win for the buyer too. Let's try to utilize some seller credit. Let's not, maybe your house has been sitting on the market. Let's give them a credit to either pay closing cost or buy down the rate or do a temporary buy down of the rate. There's different options that we can look at as lenders that would help the buyer feel comfortable about purchasing the home and then help the seller get the home sold.
Absolutely. And I think that was what was so special about last week at the Lawton Board of Realtors. Just all of you coming together, all of us coming together. The more realtors that are on page together in our community, if we're on the same page and we're all trying to get to the same goal, get these houses sold and our buyers in a home, if our realtors are all on the same page and being educated, you guys are all on the same page.
Yes.
And I loved hearing, in fact, this is something that I recently have done. Look, if you guys offer something that somebody else needs, you guys are referring it to each other.
Absolutely.
That's huge. Yeah. Guys. Like that's flipping special, Amber.
Yes. I love all of our local originators. I mean, I have a relationship with all of them, and half of them I've worked with before, so that helps. But we all still love each other, and we all still say, hey, maybe one day we'll work together again. Who knows? But it's so last week was awesome. Like I got to hang out with all of them almost every day last week at different events. And we all were just like, oh, we missed each other,
Yeah,
but we
absolutely.
all have kind of went our separate ways, have our own business, our own
Sure.
lives, but we still respect each other.
Yeah,
And it was so awesome to see,
it was.
like you said, that you guys were seeing us interact, and that it's like, I promise we love each other.
We do.
Yeah.
And within the last couple of years, we've all been a little crazy. And I don't mean
Yeah.
that in a bad way. I mean, we just haven't had time to breathe. It
Right.
was totally different. And then overnight, it's completely different. And I was telling some of my sellers, some of you are calling your old buyers that didn't buy a house 2 years ago and saying, hey, here's some houses.
Yeah.
You want to go look at this? You can qualify for this house. So you guys are helping us
Yeah.
sell our home. So I told my sellers, I said, you've got lenders helping you. Not only do you have agents, but you've got lenders going back and calling their past buyers that were not able to get into homes because they were in multiple offer situations and they might have missed out. Okay, guys, you're qualified for this. Here's these homes. Go look at them. And we appreciate that. And that's just, it is really special. It's exciting. I have a house that I had listed. In fact, I told somebody yesterday, your sign's not in the yard. I said, I promise I didn't get fired. I'm trying to get creative and selling these houses.
Yes.
And so anyway, I reached out to another brokerage, Stace, and I said, I need help with this. Let's get creative. I'm going to keep going. I didn't get fired. But we've got to do what's best for our buyers and sellers.
Right. And that's like that. It's about taking care of them. If I'm completely honest with somebody, I tell them, like, especially if somebody's shopping me and another lender or multiple lenders, bring me their cost worksheet. And that's not, I mean, I'll try to beat it, but if I can't, I'm going to say they are beating me. And I mean, I can't say that you're going to get the best customer service somewhere else, but I know what I can provide, but they are beating me numbers wise, or, hey, I can meet that. I can match that, or I can beat that for you. So it's just being, I don't know, going back to the very beginning of this, being honest, being a good person, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I couldn't sleep at night if I
absolutely
tried to take advantage of people. So that's
when it hurts our hearts, when we feel like someone's being taken advantage of.
Yes.
We're out of control. It's so frustrating. And that's why working with the right people, because I've had more buyers at the end of a transaction say, why didn't you tell me?
Right.
Oh, I have to be careful. I can't push people on you. I can say, hey, check these people out, but I can't
But you can't force them. And that's the same, like, I can't force someone to go with me, but I've also had the same experiences where people have told their realtor they wish they would have done this or that or whatever. And I just hate it. Or they're in the middle of the transaction and now it's going south and we're trying to save it, which I'm more than happy to do. But we've lost time. They've probably lost some money in that. And it's just.
How many times have we had to switch to a local lender in the middle of something? And that does not, we want our buyers and sellers to say when it's completely done, wow, that was really nice. That was a really smooth transaction. Wow. And that's exactly what happened recently with the deal that I had. It was with Beth. And I mean, everything was so smooth. And I said, thank God you went with somebody local, Thank God, and it was, and he is bragging about her. He's bragging about me. Like, it was so pretty. And it's like,
Well, we know that our business is referral based. And so, I mean, we have to, I think April was saying yesterday about Donna, like we see each other, like we want to do a good job for, first of all, the client and take care of them, but also they're your client. We want to take care of you guys. It's literally, I mean, your name is mud if you do.
Absolutely. And a town the size of ours, it goes down pretty quick if we're not providing a good service.
Yes.
It gets around real fast. Real fast. I learned a lot doing business with you. Your company was very systemized, and I loved that. And I watched you and how your company communicated with our buyers. And so, since working with you, I've tried to emulate how to communicate. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I was probably 2 or 3 years in when I first, well, about 2 years in, I guess, when I first started working with you. And that was one thing that I loved and I learned from you, was just that communication aspect and being systemized. And hey, okay, we just finished this piece. Now we're moving into this piece. And
Yes.
I just loved that. And I was like, wow, okay, this is great. This is the way I want to run my business too.
Yes.
So,
yeah. That's, I'm constantly working on that, like developing better communication with the clients and the agent.
You do great.
I feel like it could be better. You know, I feel like there's
always be better. We can always be better.
But you know, that is like the biggest thing, is communicating. And that's what I hear a lot of times people are struggling with other companies, or, you know, not local, is there's no communication. There's no, they don't know where they're at in the process. They can't get a hold of anyone. I'm like, you can come and see me and sit down right in front of me if you need to. So
there might be 3 people on a file. And I always say, do y'all not have one little file in the cloud that has their name on it, and you all click that same little file?
Yes.
And my buyers are calling me, they said you didn't turn this in. They said you didn't do this. Let me show you the email. I sent this, they received it, but it's a different person. And so
it makes
like, why is this not going to this one little file in the cloud? And when they all click that little cloud, they see that little document that I promised I sent 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So anyway, and that's,
I don't mean to, I don't mean to bash.
We're not. No, it's reality.
You know, I think we take such great pride in taking care of our clients. And
we want them,
like you said, we get feisty when we know that people are being taken advantage of, or they're not getting good service. And it's like, gosh, like, why is it so hard for people to give good service?
I know. And I'll tell you too, and I'm not, this isn't about bashing it. It's not, I promise that's not my intent. But when it does come to our buyers and sellers and their frustration levels, and it's out of our control. If you and I, Amber, are working on a file together and we're working with a title company, the 3 of us can problem solve, troubleshoot any situation together, and we're able to do that. People don't know what's going on in the background half the time. They don't have a clue.
No.
Not a clue what we talk about all the time. That's not happening sometimes with the online.
Right.
And the problems that they think are problems are put in front of our buyers and sellers, and it's not necessary. And it causes an unnecessary stress.
Yes.
That you and I do every single day.
Yes.
It's part of the process.
Right.
You have to involve the buyers and sellers, and that's, I did turn that in. I promise you. Like, no, you're fine. We're moving.
My whole take on, so I used to process loans, and then I went into originating, but I always wanted to do as much for the client without having to involve them. Now, there's things that we have to involve them, but like, I try to take as much off their plate as possible. It's like, there's real, there's real
that and transparency. We're transparent.
Yes.
That's a whole other conversation.
Right. Yes. And absolutely. Completely transparent. They know where we're at in the process. But if there are phone calls I can make, or, you know, I can request verifications for them so that they don't have to go digging in a storage unit for a document. Like, I will do these things so that it makes their life easier.
Yes.
I'm like, these are real people. They're buying a house. Sometimes they're going through hard times, divorces, or maybe it's a happy time. I mean, so it's like, try to keep it happy for them throughout the whole process. That's my goal.
Thank you for that clarification, because I don't want anybody thinking that there's a difference between that and transparency.
No.
That's what I do love, and that's the service that I know that you work hard to provide. I work hard to provide education and transparency. But like you said, if there's something that we can take off their plate and not have to call them 15 times while they're in the middle of a work day, but it would take me one email to get it. And I know those people personally to get it, you know,
it just doesn't,
different.
Yeah.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense that we wouldn't. It's like going from A to B, or A to Z, instead of going all the way through the alphabet, like having them try to get it. And I'm like, they don't even, half of the time, the buyers, and they don't know our process, and they don't know why we're asking for these things. And I mean, there are things that obviously they have to give me themselves, but it's just all about, like you said, if we can send the email or pick up the phone and call somebody to make it a little bit easier, that's what
it makes it a whole lot better process. And it's a 30 to 40 day process that people, they've already got enough on their plate. Stresses to move, packing up, where am I going to live if this extends, there's enough. We want to be able to take that off anything that we can, and not have to take 15 calls because they need a termite report.
Yes.
I said it. We got it. So anyway, I'm sorry.
No, you're cracking me up.
Can you tell that one little termite report is stuck in my head?
It's still in there. Yeah.
4 years later, I can't get over it.
Yeah. Well, because silly things like that could stop a transaction or hold it up. It's just so unnecessary. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm sorry. I let it go. I'm letting it go today. Y'all will never hear that story ever again. Letting it go. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Oh, you will hear it every day, probably. There was one more thing, Amber, that I wanted to talk about briefly. We talked about arms.
Yes.
Oh, I did have one more clarification on that. Is that for FHA conventional VA?
We do Prime Lending does only, right now, we only offer a conventional arm with 20% down.
Okay.
Their credit score has to be a 740.
That's fine.
And DTI 40%. So the box is pretty small, I will say that, that they need to fit into, but it's a really good option if we want to quote that or go that route. So
sure. No, perfect. Very
good.
But
I think that there are companies that will do VA arms. We don't offer them right now. So, but yeah.
And that was kind of what I was thinking. Our military, they're not here very long half the time.
No.
A lot of time. They're here for three years, maybe
yes.
4. So there's a large population of that.
Absolutely.
And so that's the first thing I thought was, how perfect would this be for our military that know that they're only going to be here for a short period of time. Again, I'm not an expert, but it's an option that I would think that would be very beneficial to consider.
Right. Because that's one of the questions we're asking them is like, how long do you plan on staying here? Yes.
So anyway, okay, that was just a question. Next thing is when we talked about the 3-2-1 or the 2-1. So kind of give us a little lowdown on that. Just again, we're just trying to problem solve here. We're trying to get people in houses. Like they say, if you're renting, you're paying 100%. So
absolutely.
I don't know if I should really be saying that. But
no, I mean,
we're trying to give people options to consider. So that is a new one that I was unfamiliar with, and I would like my people to know that.
Absolutely. So Prime Lending offers a 2-1 or a 3-2-1 buy down. Depending, so if you do FHA or USDA, you can only do the 2-1. And I'll explain those in a minute. And then conventional, you can do either the 2-1 or the 3-2-1. VA, you can do either as well. So what that means, I think the easiest way to break it down would be to numerically, like if you did a 3-2-1 buy down, that would be you requesting that the seller pay this charge for you at closing as a seller concession. So one of our ways of being creative is saying, okay, maybe this is a win for the buyer, and then it's a win for you, seller, because you're not having to drop the price of the home. You can just pay this on behalf of the buyer to where they're getting a lower interest rate. So on the 3-2-1, say the rate today, for instance, is at, I'm not quoting a rate, but say it's at 7. So the 3-2-1 would be the first year, your rate would be at 4% for the whole first year. The second year, it would be at 5%. The third year, it would be at 6%. And then for the remainder of the life of the loan, it would go to the originally quoted 7%. So it's not an adjustable rate mortgage. you are fixed at the 7%, but essentially the seller is prepaying the interest for those lower rates at closing for the buyer. So it can save the buyer a tremendous amount of money up front for those first 3 years of the loan. But those, again, are conversations we're having to have and say, are you going to be comfortable with this? Number one, we're qualifying them, of course, on the higher, the 7%. So we know they qualify, but we just have to show them the difference in payment and every year and how that's going to fluctuate. Obviously, the first 3 years, they're getting a huge benefit. But we got to know, hey, once we reach that 4th year and you're back to the 7%, are you going to be comfortable with that? Or maybe you're having a life change or event that like maybe it's a dual household and now the spouse is going to get a job. It's coming down the pipeline. We know that's happening. So you guys are going to be okay with that higher payment in year 4. It could be that you're going to be moving, or you're going to potentially look at refinancing. We don't know, but we hope that the market changes and the rates get better. So those are all options that if you do these temporary rate buy downs, they can look at, for the future.
I like that. So they do have the option to refi.
Yes.
So I'm really, and again, I haven't thought this through. I haven't processed this in any way, shape, or form yet. So to me, though,
it's like, why not? Yeah.
Like,
but because the only, well, there's a few caveats, is obviously the seller or builder, whoever, has to agree to pay that on behalf of the buyer.
Okay.
It has to fall within, how each loan type has parameters of how much the seller can pay. For the buyer. Has to fall within those. So those are numbers that I'm running, and we actually have like a little cheat sheet calculator that I can share with the agents that you put in the purchase price, you put in 7% or whatever you would want to estimate as the rate, and then it would tell you what the buy down cost would be to the seller, so that we could figure out, does that fit within the 6% or the 3% that the seller is allowed to pay for the buyer. If it doesn't, then we could look at other options, like just a regular buy down, to where you're buying down the rate for the life of the loan. And I know that sounds better than the temporary, but you will not get to buy down to a 4% rate by any means. You might go from a 7% to a 6.5% by buying down, but that would buy down for the full term of the loan. So there's different ways to utilize that seller credit, and we would look at all of those and figure out which one's going to be best for the client.
I like it. So we've talked about 2 potential options that could potentially help somebody.
Yeah.
I immediately, during our meeting at the Lawton Board of Realtors, I called one of my sellers, or texted him, call your bank. Do you have an assumable loan?
Yeah.
Nope, he didn't. But that, in that particular case, would have been perfect for him.
Yeah.
Now, that's not everybody.
Right.
That's not everybody.
Yeah. And that's the same thing that we're doing when we're looking at these options. Like,
yes.
I mean, I've had people say absolutely not, no, to ARMs, to whatever it may be.
Absolutely.
I get it.
That's okay. Germany. Yes.
Absolutely. I get it. But I'm going to present to you what options I feel.
Sure.
And I'm not saying I'm an expert, but that, I've been doing this. I'm going to tell you, I feel these are your best options, and let them decide. So,
absolutely.
But if we have, like you said, if we have a seller credit to use, it's kind of like, why not? Now they could use that credit to pay closing costs. They could use that credit to buy down the rate, to do a temporary buy down. We just have to figure out, what is their end game. Is it the least amount of money out of pocket at closing? Is it the interest rate? What is it that drives them? So every person's different.
Everybody's different. Yeah. Absolutely. Some people are comfortable, but right now, what a lot of us are seeing is a lot of our buyers that were not able to purchase due to multiple offer situations are ready to buy now.
They're coming back around. Yeah.
We're coming back, but
the rates are way different now.
The rates are different, and they were pre-qualified and in their mind prepared to buy a $350,000 house.
Yeah.
And now they're like, hold on, Sarah. And you would think, well, what's, oh, poor them. They now have to buy a $250,000. But
Yeah.
when you do have your mind set for quite some time,
Right.
this is the house that I want. There was a sweet little couple called me just a couple weeks ago and they were like, the house is finally on the market. We want it. Let's go look at it. I said, yeah, they knew it was going to be coming on the market. It was in their ideal area. They kind of knew the people. They knew the house. They were ready. And I said, call your lender.
Yeah.
She called me. Said, I can't see it, Sarah. She said what they were pre-qualified for just 3 or 4 months ago. Now, so it was at like $259,000. The house was listed at $259,000. They knew it was going to be around that price range.
Yeah.
She said, we can't even afford it now, even if it was $200,000. So in this case, something like that.
Absolutely.
They're a brand new married couple. They're just kind of starting out life.
Right.
In 3 or 4 years.
Yes.
To me, this would be the perfect they're going to be more established in their life together in 4 years. If we could get that seller to buy that down and do potentially a 3-2-1.
Right.
That, in my mind, would be perfect for that particular couple.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Because, well, the only thing you have to consider is they still have to qualify on the current rate.
Okay, sure.
So they still have to qualify. But that's the problem is a lot of people, they can qualify, but they just don't want that higher payment. So it's like, and that's what I have one locked in right now, a 2-1 buy down. And he qualified all day long with the higher monthly payment, but he was just adamant and don't blame him. This is where I want my monthly payment.
Right.
And so we were able to utilize the 2-1 buy down. And so for the first 2 years, he's got his payment is under what he wants and he knows it's going to increase after that. But he's also, he's expecting life changes, promotions, things like that, where he's like, hey, I'm going to be good by the time year 3 rolls around. So it's like you said, it sounds perfect for customers like that. It's a case by case basis.
It is absolutely.
If we can get the sellers to give a credit, we have so many options that we can run for the buyer. Yeah.
We do absolutely, and I love it. And I'm excited that we're all coming together. We're all on the same page. I love it when I'm doing a deal with a realtor, and the listing agent says, "Hey, have you considered da da da?" Nope, I haven't. Thank you for educating me on that. Or I can do that for somebody else. Hey, you know what? I know this isn't working out, but you might want to call so-and-so because they've got this option. Right. And it's so fun for us to come together because everybody's got something different. And I mean, I say that you're all have.
Well, right. But it's so good to bounce ideas off of each other. I mean, I definitely learned some things from the Board of Realtors Lunch and Learn the other day. Listening to the other ladies, I was like, oh, okay.
Especially when things change from day to day. We've had a few new realtors come on in the last couple of years, and I'll say, you might want to call the expert on that. And they're like, well, so-and-so said they've been doing that for 40 years. I don't care if they've been doing that for 40 years. That doesn't necessarily mean we go and do it today. Right. Don't know anymore. Things have changed, and I tell people there are no absolutes. Right. Call the experts, call around, because it's different. I mean, everything's different from day to day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
it's not to scare people. It's fun. This is fun.
Right. Problem solving is like part of our job. That's our job. So like you said, we're not scared about what's going on. We want to solve it for you, but we have to have a little give and take from all the parties involved.
Absolutely. So, yes. It's not scary, just different. It's just different. And so we just got to figure out, it's more of an individualized basis now.
Yes.
Instead of a big picture, we've got to be more individualized now. But that's also a mindset too. One size does not fit all.
Right.
And we have to get in that mindset.
Personally, this shift has grown me as an originator. You know what I mean? Like you said, I'm
Yeah.
having to learn new products. I'm having to just think outside the box that I didn't have to do before. It was like we were on auto mode and just, and now I'm like, oh, well, that's not their best option. This is their best option.
Absolutely.
It really is. It's a different time, but I feel like you just have to let us try to figure out the problems for you.
We know the questions as professionals in this industry. We know the questions to ask.
Yeah.
We know the resources. We know the people. We have
Right.
the data. That's the thing. A lot, like I said, I was talking to a for sale by owner yesterday, and he's like, "Oh, I had no idea." Right? You don't know. I know because it's my job to know. That's my profession. This
Right.
is it's what you do. This is our job to know. I have data that the general public does not have.
Yeah.
You have data the general public does not have.
Yeah.
Or at least we know how to use it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of data out there that the world does have that they don't know how to use. But
Right.
But we are the licensed professionals,
Yeah.
and we have that inside access to knowing a lot of things that, unless you're reading all day, every day,
right,
state everything.
Yes. And I don't want to make it sound like we know all, because by all means I learn something new every single day. And that's the scary part, is that sometimes people or buyers will come in, or sellers, thinking that they can do things without the help, of local lenders or a real estate agent. And it's like, you can, but it's going to be a very painful and stressful process because
especially in the shift.
Yeah.
Especially in the shift. I was ran into a guy at the golf course the other day. He's like, "Hey, I guess people are going to start needing y'all again." And I was like, really? Like, do you not know what was going on behind closed doors this last 2 years?
I tell people all the time that you guys have the hardest job and you do the most. I mean, you literally are like keeping the whole thing going,
It takes everybody, but it takes everybody being on the same page. It takes a good team. And that's what I call us. I call it meet my team. This is Amber. This is Bonnie. This is me. This is whoever, this is your team. This is who we're going to be communicating with. And this is who's going to be taking care of you. And if we're all on the same page, it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Amber, thank you.
Thank you so much.
This has been so fun, so great. And we need to do it more often because you love to educate people. I love to educate people. I love people to understand what's going on. And it's not just coming from me, and it's not just coming from you. This is the experts. This is the world.
Yes.
And so anyway,
thank you so much. It was fun. I was nervous, but I'm like, hey, we're just having a conversation.
We are. And so I tell people, they're like, okay, so what are we gonna be talking about? What's the agenda? Like, we're just gonna go with it. Like,
talk. Yeah. Well, you're really good at this. Like, you're good at
this is fun.
Yeah.
That I'm learning and you're learning. We're all learning. And a lot of people, if they're watching, which I think we've had a few people tuning in, so they learned a little bit. So anyway. All right, Amber, I'll tag you, or you can share it however you want to do it. I haven't figured that out yet, how to tag people as it's happening, but that is my next
That's okay.
piece. But anyway, we'll do that. Oh, we got a comment. Let's see what the comments are. Kimberly says, "Good morning, ladies." Oh, Kimberly, we love you. We miss you, and we'll see you soon.
Yes. Hopefully you're feeling good today, or better.
Yes. Oh,
well, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Amber. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.